Sean Spicer is confronted in an Apple store by Indian. Sean Spicer was ambushed while shopping in an Apple store on Saturday by a woman who called President Donald Trump a fascist and accused the White House press secretary of racism. Shri Chauhan, a 33-year-old Indian-American woman who lives in Washington, D.C., and works for a non-profit, posted the video in which she walks up to Spicer and begins harassing him as he shops. She begins by asking Spicer, "How does it feel to work for a fascist?" Spicer responds, "We have a great country," while appearing to try and ignore the woman. Spicer smiles politely during the encounter and replies, "It's such a great country that allows you to be here," before eventually walking away. Chauhan, who is of Indian descent and was born in America, claims this was a racist. She told DailyMail.com that she felt as if Spicer was suggesting that she had no right to be in the U.S. However, it's possible Spicer was referring to the right of all Americans to exercise free speech, even if they are confronting one of the most powerful people in the country while he shops. "He's the press secretary for the President of the United States," she said. "Don't tell me what he probably meant, because he also works for this administration that has done all of these things." Chauhan was referring to Trump's executive order in which he banned migrants and asylum seekers from 6 Muslim-majority countries in the Middle East and Africa. He could have said, "Such a great country that allows dissent," she said. There is a lot of ways that could have been said. To have someone who speaks for the President of the United States tell me to my face that I shouldn't be here and I was born here, that is a real thing. Chauhan, who works for Parents in Partnership, a nonprofit that encourages parents to take a greater role in their children's education, said that Trump's election made her fear for her safety as well as for her future in the U.S., even though she is a citizen. "I woke up the day after the election in fear of what would happen to someone like me. And we've seen what happened. We've seen what happened to Indians." On March 3, Deep Rai, a 39-year-old U.S. citizen of Sikh heritage, was shot and wounded by a gunman in the driveway of his home just outside of Seattle. The gunman is alleged to have told Rai to go back to your country. Authorities are treating the shooting as a suspected hate crime. The shooting took place less than 2 weeks after 2 Indians and another person were shot by a gun-wielding man inside a Kansas bar who told them to go back to your country. One of the Indians was dead and the other was wounded. The third victim had came to the aid of the 2 Indians. With her voice shaking, Chauhan says those incidents, as well as the bomb threats made against Jewish community centers and the violence against transgender kids, have created a climate of fear in the country. "They are gonna spin it however they want, but there is a palatable fear that people have in this country and it is warranted," she said. She said she felt compelled to confront Spicer as an act of public service. "Honestly, I see what's happening in this country," she said. "I see how the Trump administration is curtailing constitutional rights, and it's very, very concerning to me as a woman of color and just as a human being and an American. I'm a daughter of immigrants," she said. "My parents came to this country because they believed in what America is all about." And on a regular basis, Mr. Spicer consistently defends the actions, and I believe unconstitutional actions, and lies on behalf of this administration. Chauhan said that Spicer was fair game because of his power in the administration. "From what I understood, Mr. Spicer takes Mr. Trump's tweets and makes them cogent policies later on," she said. "He's working on making things less free for Americans." Chauhan says that she was alarmed by the Trump administration's empowering of Steve Bannon, who many would consider a Nazi, to run the National Security Council, and its appointment of Jeff Sessions to the position of Attorney General despite committing perjury. When asked if she thought it was appropriate for her to confront Spicer in an Apple store while he was shopping there on a Saturday in his capacity as a private citizen, she replied, "Is it appropriate to ban Muslims from this country? Is it appropriate to attack the First Amendment and the freedom of the press and the right to assemble? I don't think any of those things are appropriate and are within the bounds of the Constitution." Choan said that the questions about Russia's alleged ties to the Trump administration, which she calls bigger than Watergate, pushed her to act. "That's why I did what I did, because what is happening very slowly when normality is changing," she said. "Sean Spicer has the protection of the podium when he's in the press room," she said. "I didn't have time to sit there and ask questions I would ask if I was a reporter. What is in the bounds of normal? So I don't know if the Apple Store was the most effective place, but I'm just a regular person. Maybe having someone like a regular person ask those questions instead of reporters, that might work." In a blog post she wrote for Medium, Choan slams Spicer for his nasty bigotry. "Think about the sheer audacity of Mr. Spicer to say that to my face with a smile, knowing that he is being recorded on video and the position of power he holds in our government," she writes. "I am still stunned by the boldness of having my citizenship threatened on camera." Choan acknowledges that she was not polite in accosting Spicer at the Apple Store. "But when does being impolite mean that I should be thrown out of the United States of America? The country I was born in, the country I was raised in, the country I love despite its flaws.